This video is about groups and people during the 20th and 21st centuries influenced by Henry David Thoreau. Let me begin with the end, or begin in the present and work my way into the past. Edward Snowden can be considered a disciple of Thoreau. His leaking of government documents are considered an act of civil disobedience to some people because he released them to raise awareness of what he deemed were wrong actions, those of the NSA and their information collecting techniques. He currently is facing jail time under charges of espionage and treason. Another disciple of Thoreau is Chelsea Manning, who released confidential documents concerning military actions she deemed unethical to WikiLeaks, which resulted in her imprisonment. Her actions are based on the idea of opposing wrong action through peaceful means in order to create change for the better. She was arrested, tried, and convicted on charges of espionage, and currently is awaiting the possibility of parole. Occupy Wall Street. Thoreau's Civil Disobedience is considered an essential piece of dissension literature in American history. Therefore, it only makes sense that one of the most recognized dissent groups in our current time, Occupy Wall Street, considers Thoreau's work to be one of their foundations. They claim that, because Thoreau refused to pay taxes due to the government's involvement in slavery and the Mexican-American War, he is similar to the members of Occupy Wall Street. He stood up against the wrong in society. So too do those involved in Occupy Wall Street say they stand up against today's societal wrongs. Prior to and throughout the war in Iraq, anti-war protesters held rallies showing their disdain for any sort of military involvement there. This occasionally led to police involvement and arrests of those in the rallies. Some protesters attempted to shut down entire cities. Some students in Germany staged walkouts. Some protesters caused cities to shut down part of their roads to traffic. Some used Thoreau's philosophy to justify being arrested. Much like the war in Iraq, anti-war protesters demonstrated in the streets with their disapproval of going to war in Afghanistan. Police involvement occurred in some areas, with some demonstrators being arrested. People protested leading up to the war, and have been doing so ever since. One notable protest was on October 7, 2001, when 10,000 to 12,000 people showed up in New York City in protest, and, expecting 12 people to speak to the crowd, only 3 were allowed by the police to speak, and the protesters were herded into what was called a one-lane-wide bullpen in the street. Thoreau influenced the anarcho-naturist movement. John Zerzan, a leader in the movement, wrote Against Civilization, Readings and Reflections in 1999, which included Thoreau's text Excursions. Walden also was a motivating force in the movement. Nelson Mandela was a leader of incredible change in South Africa, who helped end apartheid, which was the systematized racial discrimination laws and policies of that nation. He is one of the leaders of the last 100 years to have studied Thoreau, and has used his ideas to make his own changes within the country. During the Vietnam War, the American government drafted many men to fight. However, there were some who refused to fight. Some of those men read Civil Disobedience, and it became a source of inspiration not to fight. They burned their draft cards, went to jail, and protested against the United States' involvement in the war. Some environmental groups use Thoreau's ideas of civil disobedience to protest. One example is a group in Appalachia protesting against the ever-present coal plants there, which produce alarming amounts of greenhouse gases. Others chain themselves to trees, sit in front of deforestation machinery to stop it, and other such activities. Not only has Thoreau influenced the environmental movement through civil disobedience, he also has done so through his actions and his writings. He connected the well-being of human towns and cities to the well-being of the environment, and spent nearly every day doing some sort of activity in nature. He wrote, "Each town should have a park,
or rather a primitive forest of 500 or 1,000 acres, where a stick should never be cut for fuel, a common possession forever for instruction and for recreation.